After spending the night in the cursed house, Rachel and Alex awoke to find that something had changed. The air was thick with an unsettling energy, and they could feel a heavy presence weighing down on them. Rachel's heart raced as she realized that the curse was growing stronger. They quickly packed their bags and headed for the front door, but as they approached it, they found that it was now locked from the outside. Panic set in as they realized that they were trapped inside the house. As they searched for a way out, they began to notice strange things happening around them. Doors would slam shut on their own, objects would move by themselves, and whispers could be heard from the shadows. Rachel and Alex were terrified, but they knew they had to keep moving. They eventually found a small window that was slightly ajar, and they squeezed through it to escape the cursed house. Once they were outside, they collapsed on the ground, gasping for air. As they caught their breath, they realized that they were not alone. A figure stood at the edge of the property, watching them with glowing red eyes. Rachel and Alex knew that they had to get as far away from the cursed house as possible. They took off running, not stopping until they were miles away. But the curse of the house had not let them go so easily. They soon found that they were haunted by the same dark energy that had been present in the house. They were tormented by nightmares and plagued by strange occurrences. They knew that they had to break the curse if they ever wanted to have peace again, but they had no idea how to do it. Over the next few weeks, more strange things happened in the house. Doors would slam shut on their own. Unexplained noises could be heard throughout the night, and objects would move on their own. The family's youngest daughter claimed to see a ghostly figure in her room at night, and refused to sleep there anymore. As the haunting intensified, the family decided to seek out the help of a paranormal investigator. The investigator arrived at the house with his team, armed with equipment to detect any spiritual presence. As soon as they entered the house, they could feel a strong negative energy permeating through the air. The team began their investigation and soon discovered that the house was built on top of an ancient burial ground. The bodies of the deceased had been disturbed during the construction of the house, and their spirits were now restless and angry. The team attempted to communicate with the spirits, but they were met with hostility and aggression. As the night wore on, the haunting grew more intense. The spirits seemed to be gaining power, and the investigators began to fear for their safety. Suddenly, the front door of the house burst open with a loud bang, and the team heard a sinister voice warning them to leave. The family finally decided they had to leave the cursed house. They packed up their belongings and left that very night, never to return again. The house remained empty and abandoned for many years, until it was eventually demolished and the land was left to nature. But even now, people claim to see strange things around the area where the cursed house once stood. Some say they can still hear the angry spirits of the ancient burial ground warning them to stay away. And the legend of the cursed house lives on, a chilling reminder of the dangers of disturbing the resting places of the dead. As they explored the house further, they found a locked door in the basement. It was an old wooden door with a rusty lock that looked like it hadn't been opened in years. Curiosity got the best of them, and they decided to find a way to unlock it. After searching for a while, they finally found an old key hidden in a dusty corner of the basement. As they inserted the key into the lock and turned it, they heard a loud creaking noise as the door slowly opened. The room behind the door was pitch black, and a cold draft emanated from within. They cautiously stepped into the room, but as they did, they heard strange whispering sounds that seemed to be coming from all around them. Suddenly, they felt a cold hand grab their shoulder, and they turned around to see a shadowy figure standing behind them. They tried to run, but the door slammed shut, and they were trapped in the dark, cold room with the shadowy figure. The whispering sounds grew louder and more sinister, and they could feel a malevolent presence in the room with them. They huddled together in fear, wondering if they would ever make it out alive. Suddenly, the room started to shake violently, and they heard a deafening roar that sounded like it was coming from deep within the earth. As they looked up, they saw that the walls of the room were starting to crack and crumble. They knew they had to get out of there fast, or they would be buried alive. They ran towards the door, but it wouldn't budge. They tried to force it open, but it was as if it was sealed shut. Suddenly, the floor beneath them gave way, and they plummeted into a dark, bottomless pit. They fell for what seemed like an eternity until they finally hit the ground with a bone-crunching thud. When they looked up, they realized that they were in a completely different part of the house. They had no idea how they got there or how to get out. As they walked through the dark corridors, they realized that the curse of the house was far more powerful and terrifying than they had ever imagined. They knew they had to find a way out before it was too late, but they also knew that the cursed house would never let them leave. As the weeks passed, the family grew more and more restless. Strange noises could be heard throughout the night, and the walls seemed to be closing in on them. Every time they tried to leave, something kept them rooted to the spot, as if an invisible force was holding them back. One day, the family awoke to find the house completely surrounded by an impenetrable fog. They could barely see their hands in front of their faces, and the only sound was the eerie silence of the mist. They tried to leave, but the fog seemed to follow them, creeping closer and closer, until they could barely breathe. It was as if the very air around them was cursed. Desperate, they decided to call in a priest to bless the house and banish whatever evil force was causing their torment. But as soon as the priest stepped foot inside, he was overcome by a powerful force and thrown across the room. The family was trapped, with no escape from the cursed house. They tried to endure the torment, but it was too much to bear. One by one, they succumbed to the darkness that had taken hold of the house. And as the last member of the family breathed their final breath, the cursed house fell silent once again, waiting for its next victims to enter its walls. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more.